Atomstack A30 Pro laser. Got one right here. Been waiting for this. But I'm a little bit puzzled because right here on it, it says, please do not open the box. It is a parcel. Well, okay. I'm going to open it anyway. We're going to do that coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop, and I'm going to be unboxing my Atomstack A30 laser here and putting it together, and we'll put it through the paces. And of course I got some mods I want to do to it. I've got everything all planned. I do have some other Atomstack lasers. I have the A5 Pro, which is in an enclosure up in the loft in the laser room. And I also have a P5, which I have given to my grandson to get him acquainted with lasers. And I have a P9. And the P9 is also up in the laser room. So, want to get this thing unpacked, put together. So let's see what's in the box. This little tag here, do not open because it's a parcel. I got a chuckle out of that. That's why I had to point that out. So let's see what we got in here. It must be some lithium batteries and something. Okay, so we have a cutting mat. Piece of stainless steel to put underneath your work so you don't scorch the wife's dining room table. That gets you in the doghouse. We got some foam, and we got some parts and pieces in here. User manual, air assist user manual, laser engraver user manual. And this is all well packed, and you don't need to watch me take all this stuff out of the box really. You're just gonna have to look to make sure that you don't miss anything. There's a lot of little compartments with little pieces of foam here hiding things. So I'm going to get all this out and laid out. We'll see what we got. So here are all the parts and pieces that were in that box. And when you're unpacking, don't miss the legs. They're in little slots in the foam and they're very easy to overlook. So you have 3 legs because if it's anything like the other ones, this is a motherboard component. This will be your 4th leg. And of course you have this looks like an HDMI cable, and that's for your remote screen. And I'm very familiar with how these operate because I have, as I mentioned, I have 3 other Atomstack lasers. You get some neoprene tubing, you have an air assist pump. Of course you have the laser head, the air assist is built into the top, that's a nice feature. So, get everything wrapped here, get the cords out of the way. Of course you get a pair of them real cheesy safety glasses, which are better than nothing. And you get a little brush for cleaning things up. Bracket, little bag of goodies here, power supply. So I'll get everything unwrapped and laid out. We'll put this together. Okay, I'll be doing this in detail as I do all of my assembly videos. Their bags are labeled. For example, this is for step 1, step 2, step 3. There is a little bag here with a spare laser lens in it. And yes, it is actually in there, so be careful of that. Don't lose that. Put that someplace where you'll be like me and forget where you put it. Get some microfiber cloth for non-woven cloth for cleaning your lens if you need to. I'm going to set all that up here off to the side. They do give you some tools here. I'll be using my ball drivers here because it's quicker than this, but these work just fine. So we'll get everything laid out here. I'm actually going to go by the manual on this one. So we need to get all our parts laid out here first. The gantry out of the way. We need to get all the pieces in line here. Logo side up. And one of these has a limit switch on it, and it goes on the left side at this end. So you see there's holes in the ends here. Just turn around. The bolts will be going and inserting in those holes. Don't put them in this side. They go in the side with the recess. A few things moved around here. It's pretty straightforward. If you have one of these little parts trays, these are handy for keeping your screws from rolling all over the place. So it's just a matter of popping the screw through that hole and then into the extrusion. Of course, you want the label side up here on the part facing you here. See, you got the, tells you all about it. It's got little cautions on there. I also suggest that you do not make these super tight until you have everything assembled. It looks like everything's going together very, very well. Everything's machined very well. I'm just going to flip this around to make it easier for me to reach. Something to keep in mind as you are assembling this, I have some soft cardboard here. Do not damage your limit switch. So what I'm going to do now is flip it around the other way. We're going to be tightening up these good and tight now. Okay, the next step is going to be the feet and the gantry, and since it's upside down and I have the back towards me, I'm going to put the back feet on first. Then we'll roll the gantry on. Yeah, looking at here, I may need to roll the gantry on first. Okay, looking at this, you'll need to slide the gantry on before you put your legs on. You'll never get it on. And this slides in from the back side because there's a limit switch up here. So the stepper motor here will go to the left. This portion here, which is where the laser head mounts, will face you, or face the front, and this here being the front. This should just pass right through the extrusion here if the eccentrics are set correctly. And they're set pretty close. Again, be careful of that limit switch down here that you don't damage it. Okay, for the legs, this corner over here, because the motherboard goes on that corner, there's two holes that are tapped into the extrusion here. You have screws here marked for step 2. Just line up your screws there. Those tapped holes. On the motherboard corner here, you have a little antenna you're going to have to kind of move out of the way there a little bit. That's for your Wi-Fi. There will be one screw over here, which would be one of the long ones. And then on this side over here, there's two holes on this, and you have two shorter screws. The shorter screws go there. And I would not tighten that one up yet until you have your other two little shorter screws started, where you may have a little alignment problem. Okay, with that done, I'm going to flip this around here. And when you pick it up, make sure you do not pick it up by this rod under here. You'll end up bending it, and then you'll have problems. So we'll just mount the other legs over here. Again, it's a lather, rinse, repeat thing. You've got these two holes. They're already tapped in there. So I'll get these put on next. The leg fits like this with the little notch out. Okay, and next is going to be the belts. Be in a little bag like this. So the best thing to do here is get everything out of the bag, get all your hardware in something where it won't roll away, and straighten out your belts since they're all rolled up in there. Yeah, I'm going to zoom in close and go slow on this step here. A lot of people have trouble with this for some reason. This belt has teeth on one side. Those teeth will go down. You'll see there's a sprocket right here. This belt needs to go over the top of that, but it needs to go underneath these rollers. So there's two different ways to do it. One is this way. This is actually probably the easiest way to do it. You can use the end of your alien wrench there to kind of pull the belt along till it comes out the other end. Then you'll do the same thing on this side. So watch you don't get twisted. Go under the roller. So you'll have it sticking out both ends like this. Now on the ends here, you'll have these little T-nuts with bolts. So this goes in. I like to keep them out towards the end. Make sure they're loosened up. As you tighten that bolt up, that nut will turn and it will grab the belt. And you're going to have to watch here you don't get the belt all twisted when you tighten that. You do the same thing at the other end, but you're going to have to think about belt tension here now. So everybody always asks, how tight is tight with your belt? So get your far bolt set. It's probably out of camera view now. I'll turn this around a little bit. You can see it. To get your belt tension set, you want this snug, but you don't want it so tight that you can't move this. But you don't want a lot of slop there either, so it's kind of subjective. And we'll go into setting the eccentrics and everything after I get the belt on the other side here. Here again, it's the same process. This goes over the sprocket and then the belt goes under the roller. You know, this end here by your motherboard, you're not going to be able to pull slack out of the end. So you're going to have to get it down to the end and set this end first. And we'll set the tension on this corner, I should say from this corner. Now we'll get into the tension part and how well this rolls. First I'm going to roll these slowly, don't go screaming along, because as you turn those, the stepper motors actually generate a little bit of electricity. Of course, we don't have the cables connected yet, but we don't want any, we don't want to damage these if we don't have to. You want to make sure everything moves nice and even there. Of course, it'll stop when it gets to the limit switch. Now you're going to think about the eccentrics. There's a nut up under here which will judge about how tight you want these to be. And right now one of those is just a little bit too tight, so I'm going to use the little supplied wrench they give you here. This is the eccentric nut right here. So you could take your wrench and you could turn that and make it tighter or looser. You do not want to be able to rotate these with your fingers real easy. You don't want the wheels to just spinning on there though either. So it's kind of a adjustment you got to make. And you should be able to pick this up and move it and have that roll fairly easily. But you don't want it just slamming from one end to the other either. You want a nice even motion there. You want to make sure it's even. The other eccentric is on the bottom of the gantry here where the laser head carries. And this is already preset by the factory, so you shouldn't have to mess with that. You got some little caps here. These fit on the end of the extrusions right here. Like so, and you can choose to cut that off if you like. I'd like to keep a little bit of slack there in case I ever need to work on belt tension. I got something to grab. Okay, now next here is the wiring. I've got the wiring harness kind of laid out here. And to clarify part of this, I'm going to turn this upside down so you can see where the limit switch is right here. And you have this little bitty plug. That little bitty plug has a key on the top of it, and there's a slot on the top of the, I should say on the bottom of the limit switch. It just plugs right in like that. Don't force anything. Shouldn't have to be cranking on anything there. It should just pop right in there. For the next part, I'll get this turned back around again. Get everything straightened out here. You will see there is a plug on the top of the stepper motor right here. Again, this is also keyed. This little key will go in towards the gantry. The flat side will be on the outside. There is a limit switch underneath right here. You'll have a little 2-wire guy here. Again, this is keyed the same way. The keys will go down, plugs in like so. This portion will be going up on top. Stepper motor again for the X-axis. Again, it's keyed. You have a flat side. The flat side will go to the back. Plugs right in like so. No effort. This part will go to the laser head, which we'll get to be mounting on here next. The top of the laser head is a socket here where this will plug into. This is also keyed, and the keys, that's these little raised bumps, will go to the back of the laser head. And you may need to use something to push that down in all the way. Don't use anything sharp. Because it's a little hard to get your finger down in there. Now there's a dovetail right here and a dovetail on the back. You loosen this knob on the front right here and you can slip that down in. And I'm not going to set any particular focus here yet. And then as you tighten that knob up, it holds it in place. Okay, for the first part of cable management. A couple little holes up here at the top that will hold your cable in place. Make sure you leave some slack out here so you can raise your head up and down. Don't make this so tight that you can't move your head. So you're going to have to leave some slack up there to be able to move that. Incidentally, if you've never used a cable tie before, there's a flat side and a bump side. The tag end, the loose end here, has to go through that flat side. If you put it through the raised side, it won't hold anything. Then you can check and make sure you have enough slack there to go up and down, and we do. Raise that back up there. And there's also a place on the stepper motor side for cable ties to hold the cable. Make sure you have enough slack to get all the way to the other side. Don't leave yourself short. And once you're satisfied with how everything looks and travels there, you can cut off the tag ends. Make sure you move things slowly here. Don't go zipping around here now that you've got everything connected. There are some places right here at the end here where you can also fasten your cable. And make sure everything is smooth there and nothing comes up short like that just did. Okay, we've got good travel on everything. Bring this around to the front again. Next is the line for the air assist, neoprene hose here. This will plug in here, slips over that little nipple that sticks out the top. And now you will want to make sure you got some slack there. I'm going to tie this along with my cable, but don't pull those tight or you're going to pinch off your airline. You just want them to be kind of like a guide. Okay, you'll have a control cable here. Looks like an HDMI cable that plugs into the side of your controller, motherboard, and then the little remote controller here. The plastic thing in the front, this plugs into the side of that. And this just magnetically, magically hangs on the front. Something I'll point out while we're right up here by it, if you can't figure out why your laser doesn't come on, if that has been pushed down, it's not going to start. You just give that a little quarter turn and it'll pop back up. Slot right here for a TF card, micro SD card. I'll put one in there later. One does come with it. It's on a little drive adapter here. I'll want to look and see what's on that first. Well, we're just about ready to get this thing started up. I'll need to get a laptop over here and clean up some junk. Okay, taking a look at what's on the little micro SD card comes with it. Get a little carved butterfly G-code, little dog cutout G-code, and then you get your software and user manual is in there. And looks like we got some software, Lightburn. It's an earlier version of it. I highly recommend you download it from Lightburn's website, get the latest version. And your driver is in there if you do not have the driver installed. That's for a Mac. I don't have a Mac here. And it gives you some parameters. So we will open this up, take a look at it. And it gives you some speeds and things you can use to determine what settings you want to use. Okay, I'm going to be setting this up in Lightburn. I've got Lightburn open here. So I need to click on devices here and go down here to find my laser. And just click next. And it'll come up right there. Just add device. Now I got to call that something. So we'll call that the Atomstack A30 Pro. And I'm working in inches here. If you're working in millimeters, that'll be 400 millimeters square. It's next. We'll home that, auto home it to the front left on startup. Next, finish. Click on OK. I need to come over here and scroll down and put that laser, select that laser. And of course, you can't see this, but it is auto homing. And my air assist cable got in the way, so we're going to rehome this. That's better. Okay, now we'll go to getting this set up to make something. Okay, just got a scrap here. This has got a grid on it from some other project. But I'm going to use this as something to start with here. So I need to set my focus. This little plate here is for setting your focus. You set that down. My focus is set. This is 3 millimeter plywood right here. And I have the Atomstack honeycomb base underneath this. So I'll get a file loaded up here and cut something out. Okay, we're going to cut out a little silhouette of a cat here just as a test. I'm working from absolute coordinates. My setting here is 300 millimeters per minute at 65% power. So let's send this and let her go. I do have the air assist on. And it looks like I very easily could have used either a higher speed or less power. Perfect. About on a piece of 1/2 inch thick cedar. Now we're going to need to change focus here. I'm going to try this at 300 millimeters per minute power, 2 passes. This is 14 millimeter thick Western red cedar. And I need to open a door in here because, man, that making some smoke. As I'm watching this from the end down here, looking underneath it, I can see where it is cutting through. That second pass is taking it the rest of the way through. I can see the blue light reflecting off the bottom of the honeycomb board. Okay, I had to swap camera batteries there. It cut through. I'm impressed with that. Of course, you got scorching on the sides where it cut, but that's to be expected. And my next little test here, I'm going to do a cut grid on a piece of 3 millimeter plywood. Got a file I run to get parameters. It's actually made for a 20 watt laser. This being a 30, we'll see what it does. So get the focus set there. I'll need to get the file loaded and framed. This is a grid that takes it between 10% and 100% power, then graduates it between 100 millimeters per minute and 1,000 millimeters per minute. Takes a little while for it to run, but we'll let her go. I don't know how well my letters are going to come out and numbers, because this is actually for a 20 watt laser. It might burn clear through. In fact, it looks like it is burning clear through in my numbers. It's getting up into that upper corner. There's not going to be a whole lot of wood left. Okay, so here we are. As you can see, there's not a whole lot left up there. So I'm only knocking the ones out that are cut all the way through. See, these are very close, but they're not quite all the way through. So there's a 30 watt, there's a 10 watt. So there's a huge difference there. So there's the assembly and the startup and a couple of tests of this Atomstack A30 Pro. I'm impressed with it. I've got a lot of plans for this. I'm going to design some risers for it so I can use a rotary on it as well. I'm going to make some custom risers that are stackable. Haven't done it yet. Going to create a baseboard for it, and I will need to design a new grid, because the grid I have now for a 400 millimeter square is pretty much set up for a 5 or 10 watt laser, and a 30 watt laser I'd be having so much burn that I'll make a new one. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. If you'd like to get one of these, there'll be a link in the description on where you can get yourself one of them. 30 watt laser, powerful. Be more on this coming up. Thanks for watching. I'm Roger in the shop. See you in the next one.